First of all, Syrita, thanks for the feedback here on your view of the value of this video. And that tells me that, hey, there's some important info here that I need to put forward. So great feedback. Second paragraph, if a student uses the blog feature and you use the blog feature to have students do that, yes, all the students' content is held within your site. You have access to their media files as well. That's both a plus and a minus, but that's a different story. As far as using these third-party sites, I've done it in the past. I've done everything from that to having kids build their own sites from scratch to embedding Flash content, over the years. And the best way to do it is the best way that works for you and the kids. So that's how you make that decision. What works in your classroom? For me, I'm really interested in trying something new, and the idea of the student blogs that are held within the site itself and the reader that's coming and the ability to archive and export sites at the end of the year. Features are coming. That appeals to me as well. So we are not trying to compete in any way, shape, or form with these heavyweights. And I tell students, if you want to use a third-party site, go ahead. Yeah. I mean, you've already generated the JPEGs. You've written the content. Go ahead, copy and paste it. Put it out there on one of these, or Behance, wherever. Yes, you're free to maintain your second site. But I want to save some time, and I want to use the time I have to review student sites as effectively as possible. And that's why, for this year at least, I'm leaning towards using the blog. I'm not leaning towards, I am using that as the primary way to review student work. But again, what works for you, that's the best choice. Now, how do I address special projects? Now, this is a great question. I address it with the mess I have created that I call design challenges. This is a mess. It's also the foundation of how I see my classroom working for the next 5 years. A single page that holds all of the special projects that kids could possibly work on. Commercial work. And I should have something here for community service. I've got PSAs. But the idea that any possible secondary work in the classroom could be covered with one of these design challenges. That's my goal, to have a single spot where kids can find whatever it is they're looking for. And because this is so dense, well, I can't find it. Then hit Command F, if you're on a Mac, and type, not unreasonable, which is up there right now, but something like illustration. And then you can suddenly see, hey, there's illustration right there. And there's 5 matches. What are those other matches? Okay. Oh, they're in the Twitter feed. But the idea that you can go ahead and search and find a quest that interests you, that's how I plan on solving that problem. Oh, and in case you were wondering, I tell the kids, is there something you want to do that isn't here? Something I've missed? Well, talk to me. Let's add to this. Let's make this as rich of an experience as we can possibly make it. Anything creative with technology that works in this classroom. And finally, the time clock feature. Now, are you referring to a way for kids to punch in and punch out at the beginning and end of the period? Because if you are, that would be easily added to Game On. And we could create a tab in the stats panel that allows for kids and you to see when they logged in and logged out. We could have something in the clipboard that would track that information. But there's several holes in that, because is the kid logged in at the beginning of the period? Sometimes the browser will retain the cached version of the page, and they click the button, but nothing happens because they're not really logged in, or they forgot to click it, and they click it later on in the period, and then at the end of the period, did they really remember to click? So you're asking a lot of the kids to be able to do those two things that gives you valuable information if they did it in a timely manner. So I understand why you want this. But I'm going to suggest a more comprehensive way to track this. This is my exchange. Now, my early bird rotates. I can hide Mondays for us are collaboration days. So when we get back to school, collaboration day is the first day of school. On the second day of school, I'll hide this section and turn on the regular day version. And the reason it has this CD here in collaboration day is because all of these names have to be unique. So the regular day is RD and the minimum day is MD. And I've set these up. These are store items, and I'm not going to be able to access it because it's scheduled for a 5-minute period that starts 5 minutes before the class begins. And I put an additional lock in that says you have to be in first period to buy this, so that second period students can't buy first period early birds. So this is locked tight. This gives me information on who's here early, and it gives the kids rewards for showing up early, which is more important. Then tardies. Sometimes kids are late. I know. Can you believe it? Sometimes they're late. Now, in the past, I've given students 2 free tardies because stuff happens and everybody's late at some point. So you get 2 free ones. And then I had from 3 and on, it costs you 1 health. And then some kids who have 47 tardies because they just don't care. Well, it's only 1 health. Who cares? I can make that back by claiming I did stuff I didn't really do. So I invented this system with store items, limiting the purchase. You know, you can buy 2 of these, 3 of these, and 5 of each of these. But as you roll down this list, the cost becomes steeper and steeper. I have found this to be a wonderful incentive to show up on time. Then there's the idea of, hey, I'm in here working extra time. I come in early. Shouldn't I get something extra? Now, if you're an hourly worker, yeah, and you work extra time, you get extra pay. If you don't show up, hey, you're late, but it's excused. You're 30 minutes late. Do you get paid on a regular job? I was at my doctor's. I told you yesterday I was going to be at the doctor's. Yeah, that's fine. Okay? I'm not paying for that 30 minutes because you're an hourly worker. So go ahead and take the time owed. And the reason the bank, when you earn time, it gives you gold is because what if you're capped on your health at 200? And the reason the time debt doesn't take gold, what if you've converted all your gold into health? Because with the health modifier, you want as much gold as possible. Now, I can go into more detail here, but just with these 4 little store sections, I hope you can see that this gives an incentive for showing up early. It gives a reward for putting in extra time. It gives a negative incentive not to be late. And it gives a way to track time that is owed for one reason or another if we were an hourly wage business. And that's the connection I make with the kids is, hey, your first job is probably not going to be a salaried position. You're going to make X dollars per hour. And if you're not there, you're not paid. Surprise. So health, gold, and time are all interchangeable. Okay? I used to have a currency called time, called minutes. But because health and gold are interchangeable, 30 gold equals 1 health. 1 health equals 30 gold. It works both ways. Minutes are equivalent to gold. So 5 minutes is 5 gold. I have worked on this system for years and years and years. This is the closest I've come to finding balance in the classroom. And hey, you got a job? You have to use the restroom? Well, use it. You get 2 free passes, and then you can buy additional passes. Straight there, straight back. Buy your pass, leave the evidence up in your browser window, get up and walk out of the room. Head straight to the bathroom, come straight back. You don't have to ask permission. You buy the pass. I get a notification because that's how I set this up. And, on and on. These, again, in the second semester, I did not do this last semester. The tardies capped out about here, but I had kids go further. As far as these other passes, I did not scale them. I found the need to scale these other passes. And then with absences, hey, you get 5. And I tell them it's sick leave. Everybody cut you some slack. Now these are actually paid absences. So sick leave is kind of a bonus here. But don't cut my class. That is inexcusable because you got to buy an absence and a truancy, kind of a double penalty. So this is a more nuanced way to implement this time clock. It takes some work. It takes some time, but the kids get it and they respect the ability to buy a pass, a restroom pass, and leave the room without coming up and having to be embarrassed about having to use the bathroom. And the kids who abuse that pass now have a little more reason not to go so far into debt, especially with so many of them starting out the second semester with 10 health, because those are my problem children. They have 10 health, and they know that if you die in the Mac lab, you start over from the very beginning. Oh my goodness. All the policies and expectations and all that boring stuff. Are you kidding me? So there's my answer. And sorry for this being so long, but I felt that this deserved a little bit of time. And I'm sure I didn't do this system justice in explaining it, and you'll have some questions. Please feel free to fire away.